I heard somewhere Shah Rukh Khan's son was caught. They deny it. Not. Let's assume that allegation is true. The rumor I heard is that they demanded 15 crore rupees for a bail. And she somehow got the idea that drinking tea or coffee was a terrible thing. So నేను టీ తాగటం చూసింది. 8 years old she was. అయ్యో డాడీ మీరు కూడా చెడిపోయారా? Smoking, I believe should be banned. I don't want people to drink alcohol. I don't want people to be over addicted to drugs. I don't even want coffee or tea if possible. And the last point, NDPS Act, I'm glad this question is asked because I'm very fond of this issue. Mm-hmm. And probably I'm not very popular on this issue. Let me bring my medical perspective. There are some substances that are addictive. They're deadly. Narcotics. The word narcotics is commonly used in India without understanding. Medically, narcotics means opium and its derivatives. They depress respiration. They cause central analgesia. That means the pain is reduced centrally as opposed to peripheral analgesia, or aspirin, other drugs, paracetamol. They reduce pain by peripheral action, whereas this acts on the brain. That's why if you're cancer patients, extreme pain, or when we were medical students, whenever we did delivery of a baby, morphine was routinely injected because the pain of childbirth, we're all guys, we don't understand. But the pain of childbirth is about one of the most severe pains that a human being experiences. To help them overcome that, morphine was standard. It was very, very powerful analgesic. Extreme cancers, end-stage cancers. So it has some positives, but these are extremely dangerous drugs because they're addictive. Once they're addicted, it's a disease. Addiction is nothing but physical dependence. The body now craves it. Not only psychologically, but also chemically. And without that chemical, body cannot survive. Therefore, you get all the tremors and sweat and body becomes dysfunctional. Therefore, they are deadly. Except for medicinal purposes, you should never allow their use. And they must be banned ruthlessly, except for genuine medicinal purposes with rigorous control. Unfortunately, drugs which don't really do the harm like that, which only give a bit of a kick or a high, we added them under the same law.
Yes.
Marijuana is a classic example. Until 1988, Indian law did not treat marijuana as a narcotic substance or psychotropic drug. It was not included in that schedule. The Western community, because they had the power, they foolishly thought it was a dangerous substance. They put pressure on India. UN declarations, this, that. India included them. In 88 it happened, Rajiv Gandhi's time. Rest of the world is now taking out marijuana from the drugs laws. India is stuck with that. Now every police officer wants to be a big hero. No, I heard somewhere Shah Rukh Khan's son was caught. They deny it, whether he was caught or not. Let's assume that allegation is true. Caught with a gram or two for personal consumption. The rumor I heard is that they demanded 15 crore rupees for a bail. In the guise of moralism, in the guise of acting against drugs, you're actually using immense state power, very coercive state power, for grand corruption and to harass people. Now, I don't want, ideally, smoking, I believe should be banned. I don't want people to drink alcohol. I don't want people to be over addicted to drugs. I don't even want coffee or tea if possible. Occasionally I do drink coffee or tea, but not commonly. I remember my daughter at the age of 8, one day when she saw me drinking tea because I gave up everything, no coffee, no tea. And she somehow got the idea that drinking tea or coffee was a terrible thing. So నేను టీ తాగటం చూసింది. 8 years old she was. అయ్యో డాడీ మీరు కూడా చెడిపోయారా? See, in the tender mind, the idea that her father was drinking tea is like, now somebody is taking drugs. Perhaps alcohol will not give you the sense of outrage that she felt at that time. But the point is that I don't subscribe to that doesn't mean that I can dictate to you what you should do.
Yes.
In fact, alcohol is far more dangerous than even the drugs if you take the totality of the damage done.
Yes.
For the same dose, obviously alcohol is less dangerous. But if you take the consumption and the number of people who are consuming, the damage done by alcohol to health and to the purse, and in terms of gender violence, in terms of crime, fatalities and accidents, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, therefore, he is banning the answer. Human society has, the history has proved that it doesn't work. But you must very rigorously control it. You must never allow a person to be driving drunk. You must never allow a person to be seen drunk in public to create a public nuisance. You must never allow them to drink publicly. And many other very tough protocols can be there. But otherwise, you cannot dictate. Narcotics are different because the dangers are so imminent and so quick. You have to ban, there's no question. But if you don't allow the soft options, human beings are human beings.
They will go for the hard option.
I may be an automaton. My wife calls me an automaton. My daughter, my son, they all call me, you're a computer. You're not a human being. I may be an automaton. I regulate my life 100%. But that's not what normal human life is. This is abnormal human life. People want a variety of things in life. As long as your freedom does not damage other human beings, as long as your exercise of freedom is not damaging your own health irreparably and quickly, like an addiction, I think the state should not needlessly intervene. Therefore, marijuana, I believe there is a very strong case by global experience to take it out of addictive substances because it is not addictive. It can do some damage, excessive high you drive or something, sometimes judgment may be impaired. But that's like alcohol. Therefore, you regulate in that manner. And many countries, US, almost every major state has now taken marijuana out of this. And they're licensing it, they're getting revenue, like liquor, for instance, in India, excise revenue. So there is a case to do that. And most important of all, do not criminalize the consumer. The consumer is now sick.
Yes.
Have de-addiction programs. Criminalize the supply chain. Go after them, even in terms of the narcotics, the serious stuff. The mafias are making hundreds of billions of dollars today. It's the biggest source of revenue for organized crime in the world. Go after them ruthlessly. Don't go after the innocent consumers who became addicted. Have de-addiction centers. It's a disease. Unless you get them out of addiction, whether it's alcohol or narcotic drugs, countries which treated casual drug consumption as a criminal offense, they came to grief. Countries that had a practical approach, from a tiny country like Portugal to the Netherlands and many other countries, they are actually handling it much more sensibly. Unfortunately, in India, we tend to moralize.
Yeah.
Moralizing doesn't help. Drinking is definitely, in my judgment, not a very wise thing. But if you make it a moral issue and use pejorative comments and insult people, that's not going to help. You have to figure out a practical approach to enhance human happiness and human health. And to that extent, I think we must have a relook at the NDPS Act.
Totally agree with you.
I think after this answer, you're going to become a little more popular, sir. Unlike how you began your answer.
You know what? When I said this publicly, some people said, maybe he's addicted. Maybe his children are addicted. See, because
Immediately people make assumptions.
because we have a very funny notion of morality.
Yes, yes. Sir.
And Indians often don't understand the distinction between morals and taboos. For instance, the way you dress is not a moral issue. Whereas if your behavior has consequences to other human beings, and there's a negative consequence, it's a moral issue.
Okay.
We confuse between the two.
Okay.
ఏంటమ్మా బట్టలు అట్లా వేసుకున్నావు అరే ఆమె ఇష్టమయ్యా నీకేం పోయింది హౌ ఆర్ యూ ఎఫెక్టెడ్ బై దట్ సో వీ గెట్ కన్ఫ్యూజ్డ్ వాట్ ఈస్ రైట్ అండ్ రాంగ్ మనకి వీ జడ్జ్ వెరీ క్విక్లీ
Okay.
all too readily.
Okay.
As somebody said, we tend to judge others, we tend to judge ourselves by our best intentions. We tend to judge others by their worst inclinations. There's an asymmetry in our judgment. So we brand somebody else whom we don't like for some reason or other as immoral very readily. Certainly the notion of right and wrong is important, but if you don't understand what is right and what is wrong, sometimes it becomes preserving worthless chadastam antare. Superstitions are bad practices. What Tagore called, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. It's a desert sand of dead habit.
Oh.
A society must always preserve the best in our tradition and discard this dead habit. Dreary desert sand of dead habit. And if we confuse between the good tradition, like, respect parents, respect learning, have a sense of right and wrong, all these are good things. And think of what others think of you up to a point, not worry about everything, but no, bad behavior is going to reflect badly. This kind of a thing is good, sense of dharma. But if everything is guided by what others think, then it's a dreary desert sand of dead habit. You're not progressing.
Is this from Where the Head is Held High? That
Yes, in that poem, to me the best line is this, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. To me, that's the most powerful line for Indian conditions. Because India is full of dead habit.